Welcome to the D&D Fitness Radio Podcast, brought to you by your hosts, Don Saladino from New York City and Derek Hansen from Vancouver, Canada. In episode 16, Don and Derek review this week's headlines in health and fitness.
I've been doing your hamstring protocol.
That's going okay?
Yeah, it's actually improving a lot since Monday.
Oh, good. Good. Yeah, it's one of those things where I think when something like a hamstring gets injured, the first thing you try to do is not stress it, but then it just creates an atrophy condition, and then it just gets worse, and then fuck off.
I've noticed every day I think warming up is a little tough. Like it feels tight, but as I get into I wouldn't really call them sprints, but I think day one, I was doing it like 30%.
Yeah.
And by the end of day 3 today, I was probably up to 70%.
Okay.
That makes sense?
Yep.
Sometimes it takes a little bit longer than I thought it was. Cause what do? I start with the slow high knees where you're driving the knee up. Yeah. I go into the skips, and then I do the what are they called? A skips.
Yep. And
I do like 3 sets of 5 down and backs each, like 15 meters. Okay. I just kind of, which I think might even be a little bit more.
Yep.
Okay. Is a little bit more, but I just kind of do it just part of my warm up. And then I go into I guess just the 15 meter runs, which I think day one was supposed to be 3 sets of 10. Yep. And that 30 times takes a lot, because you run 15 meters, you walk back, you run, you walk back. So I would do like a set of 10, rest 3 minutes, a set of 10, rest 3 minutes, a set of 10, rest 3 minutes. But like today, I was only able to get, just because of my clock, I got a little bit less in, but I made sure I was actually able to sprint a little bit harder.
Yeah.
So I just felt like as long as I was either improving volume or improving my effort, I felt like I was kind of on the right track. I didn't know what you thought about that.
Yeah, I mean, the thing that people don't understand is that the volume is a really important part of it.
Right.
Even if you kind of dose down the intensity a bit,
so the volume is more important. Okay.
I think so, because it's like if you're doing it right, you're doing it daily.
I am.
And it's like an accumulation of stress that you can handle, right? So like I said, when somebody hurts their hamstring, it's usually when they're running. So first thing they stop doing is they stop running, right? And then things just atrophy, and there's a disuse issue. And then that's the problem. It's like this vicious circle of in order to get better, I got to use it, but I don't want to use it because it kind of hurts. But you got to, it's like anything, you got to push through it, right?
I'm just doing that. I'm doing that as my warm up right now, because my workouts right now are very athletic. I'm doing a program that Charlie created. Mm-hmm. And, one day I have a max effort lift I can pick, and then I have to do some type of a cyclic repeat. But I'm using 30% body weight on a swing, and I'm trying to do, 5 reps on 50 seconds off. I'm basically going on the minute, and I'm trying to get anywhere from 20 to 40 sets. Yep. Making sure that I maintain maximum speed. And I know what my maximum speed is because I'm able to correlate the reps with the time. So I'm able to do that. Then Wednesday is a practice day. Then Thursday is more of an easy effort where I'm taking my max effort left for the following Monday, and I'm doing 7 to 20 singles. But then I'm going back to Monday's cyclic repeat, and I'm doing 75% of that. And then Friday is my 4x5, 5x5, like my Bill Starr. And then Saturday, Sunday would be a 120 to 150 heart rate for 30 to 45 minutes. So what I'm doing is, because I feel like my lifts are very athletic, I'm able to throw in the running as my warm up. And I'm just basically only warming up with the running, but I wake up first thing in the morning and I go through my stretching. Yeah. So I'm actually feeling really good from it. I'm feeling like my body's starting to heal, but I'm really understanding right now that I really need to be running more and doing this stuff. My body got fucking slow.
Yeah. It sneaks up on you. I was talking to the guys at Kansas City yesterday.
Right.
And so they just started their off-season workout program this week, right? So the one thing that they're saying is the receivers, they're good. They run, because that's what they do. Whereas the defensive backs aren't good runners. because they're always used to being in a down position and being reactive. But those times when they actually have to run, they don't really have that quality, because I think, when you watch football practice, the defensive backs coach always has them down and backpedaling, and but that's not how the game always is. But I think
Right.
they've overused that quality too much. And now, you know how it is when you're in a crouch, what shortens? Your hip flexors shorten, your
Sure.
hamstring shorten, and then you got to sprint and everything's got to open up. And now
Right.
that's when guys have problems, right? And I think that atrophies very quickly.
But it's just funny how, and again, it's getting back to the simplicity of program design and how, because my program right now is, and I don't know the best way to put it. I hate using the word functional because I just hate that, because I think everything to an extent is somewhat functional. You hear Dr. Spina talking about pulling a baby out of a crib. You're basically doing an isolated bicep curl and how that's functional. Like, listen, a mom needs that when she's pulling her baby out of the crib at 2 months old. So I just hate using the word functional, and I don't really know how to describe it, but I feel like when your programming is less bodybuilding, I guess you call it, to where they're just it's all about the muscle, and it's all about atrophying the muscle, and it's all about muscle stimulation. And I feel like you're actually moving and listening to your body day in and day out. Like the program I'm doing right now is more of a plug and play. Like I'm going in, like, you know what? I overhead pressed on Monday. Next Monday, I'm going to probably do some type of a max effort squat. It's just, but then the week, everything kind of plugs and plays a little bit differently. If you really spend a lot of time on a lot of different movements, or if you teach your body to do one of the best ballistics, I think, known to man, and that's running, correct? I mean, running is one of the best plyometrics you can possibly do, but yet so many people are just, it's almost like a bad word. Like, oh, I run, it's like, oh, I do CrossFit. I'm like, well, running's okay. Like, what's wrong with running? I just think a lot of us have lost the ability, and we've lost, the right to go out and sprint at max effort. But I really believe that the goal is we should be getting back to that. And I'm victim of it. I mean, here I'm, training. I feel like I'm doing all the right stuff. And then I stay away from running for a while. And then what gets weak?
Yeah.
What gets weak? And for the first time in my life, I actually pull a freaking hamstring. Like, I've never pulled a hamstring in my life. Like, I'm one of those guys that was able to go to the gym and warm up at 405 on the bar, or just squat 405 on the bar without warming up and be fine. I pulled a hamstring. And then when I thought about it, I was like, well, wait a second. I stopped running. It's like, it makes perfect sense.
Yeah, I would assume it would be the same if we were throwing a baseball really hard.
Right.
Is the more you get away from it, probably the more susceptible you're to get hurt. But obviously there's the other part of the pitch count, and like if you do too much, it's too bad. So there's always a sweet spot, I think.
Right. That's what I love about your running protocol. I mean, it's very simple. I mean, you're turning around and it's not your running protocol, it's your hamstring protocol, correct?
Yeah, but honestly, when I presented to the guys at the NFL, whatever strength and conditioning thing, I just said, like, look, my hamstring protocol greatly resembles a progression I would do with somebody who might not have run that much recently, right? So my rehab approach is, probably pretty similar to Charlie's, but I treat somebody who's injured like somebody who hasn't trained, right? So you have to have this gradual progression and introduce skills and elements gradually. And so I use that sprint based protocol for, the guys this week. Like, so this is their first week coming back to train for the NFL. What did they do the previous 12 to 16 weeks? I don't know.
Yeah,
like,
you really don't know.
Could be nothing, right? So like there was a great video. I got to send it to you. There's an article that said, oh, this guy, Leonard Fournette, this is what he did for his training the past couple of months, right? And it shows him on the beach doing agility drills on the sand and catching a tennis ball. And you're like, what the fuck? What sport is that? Sand tennis? So
but you know what? There's this misconception on what, like, we should be doing. Like, people in general, like, what is it? Like, I'm just going to go out and work hard, or I'm just going to take 2 months off of football or 3 months off of football, and then I'm going to show up on the camp and fuck it. I'm 25. I'm 26. I'm 30. I could just go do it.
yeah.
And I'm convinced the reason why injuries occur is because of almost that mindset. It's like, there's not enough going into preparation. We don't give the human body enough respect. We don't say to ourselves, all right, man, listen, I took some time off. Don't let the ego take over. I gotta work my way into this right now. Otherwise I'm going to blow out a hamstring. Otherwise I'm going to blow out a knee, or something's going to happen. And, it's sad. It really is, because there's too many injuries out there. There's too many guys who work so hard, too many women who work so hard to get to this specific level in their life. And the next thing you know, they're unable to perform because of injury. I understand contact injury is one thing. Like, if you get lit up, you get lit up. It's like, there's nothing you're going to do about that. But when you're running down the first baseline, you grab your hamstring. When I'm running on the treadmill and I grab my hamstring and I'm like, holy shit, it's the first time I let this happen to me. It's a wake up call. It's like, all right, man, well, you got to have a little bit more respect. You just did 200 kettlebell swings and now you're getting on a treadmill and sprinting max effort after you haven't sprinted in, I don't know how long. Shame on me.
Yeah. And I mean, by all indications, you're pretty strong. So now you're probably at greater risk because you haven't done the skilled sprinting, but you have great output. So now maybe, that's a bad recipe to have that power, not that execution skill. Right. So
yeah, it's like partially the motor like, you've got this race car motor riding around on this, Yugo frame. It's just like the engine's way too powerful for the car.
Yeah.
Like, that's what happens a lot of times. But it's a good eye opener, and it's actually fun because there's nothing, I mean, as much as I want to look good with my shirt off like anyone else does, nothing outweighs performance. I mean, having the ability in life to wake up every day and feel great and move great. Trust me on that. I don't care what you do for a living. I don't care if you're a model, a cover boy, a cover girl, if you are a bodybuilder. When you take away someone's ability to feel good and go on to do the things you love in life, you'd give anything for that back.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you were telling me about it. We were talking about Arnold, and you said, oh, he had another heart surgery, and I just saw that, and he's doing little posts about recovering from that. And here's a guy who basically embodied fitness, but I don't know what kind of cardio he ever did. I don't know if that was a muscle that he trained, or, you know what I mean?
Well, I don't know. And I completely agree with that. I mean, I think that, when you look at his style of weight training and what he did, I mean, he did a lot of volume, and technically he was doing intervals for 2 to 3 hours.
Mm-hmm.
So in my opinion, I think his cardio, on that capacity was probably excellent. Was he the type of guy that would go out and do a lot of steady state? The answer is no. But I think he probably still had decent cardio because of he was going through these high volume workouts where he was crushing a set, elevating his heart rate on exercise like a squat or a bench, and allowing it to come back down. Again, that's one energy system, and I'm not saying that's enough. What I'm not convinced about was other aspects. How much, the diet, was it really a healthy diet, or was he eating just for muscularity and size? What was going on with drugs or performance enhancing substances? there were things that they did back there, drinking whole milk and lots of red meat. And there were just certain things that, I don't know. I mean, they said there wasn't organic back then, but was the cattle being fed grain back in the late 70s, early 80s? I bet it was. You know what I'm saying? I bet they started pumping hormones into foods back then. They're drinking whole milk. It's, come on, man. Like, I just believe that you're gonna build a lot of plaque on those arteries and those valves, and all that shit's gonna start bringing in, all that crap's passing through there, and it's gonna build up. I almost like referring to it as like, I grew up on the water, so you see like water coming through a passage, or I would get under boats and scrape barnacles off of boats, and you see water passing through the bilge pump, and out of nowhere you would see like this moss growing off the sides, or these barnacles growing off the sides from just constant water flowing through, and this algae would stick to it. That's what I feel like. That's how I always think of the human body. When you're putting stuff in that's crappy, yeah, we get away with it early on, the alcohol, all the stuff, but in time you start developing this residue on there, and then those walls start thinning and thinning and thinning and thinning, and that passage starts getting smaller and smaller and smaller. And then, unfortunately, 50s, 60s, 70s, guys start going down. One of my buddies was in a funeral home. I think it was last year. A buddy of his owns a funeral parlor. And he said, hey, Mike, how many guys do you think that I'd bury that are over 55 years old and that weigh over 250 pounds? And Mike's like, probably a lot. He goes, no, they don't make it that long. Everyone at that weight, they end up going earlier. Like they don't make it. Like how many 70-year-old guys do you see that weigh 250, 260 pounds? The answer is like, I don't see a lot. I normally see them a little bit younger, and unfortunately they don't make it.
Yeah, there's a whole wear and tear issue as well, like you said. Like, so if I have all of this stuff going through my system, there's a wear and tear, of the intake and the output. Just like if I'm a long distance runner and I'm running in Beijing, I'm taking in a lot of shitty air, right? So that's probably not something I would do there. But I know somebody was telling me about Arnold. They thought their theory was because he did this high volume of work that it actually wore down the valves, like the pressure, the blood pressure of, lifting over high volume durations. Obviously, if you're taking drugs, you can do more. And that created a wear and tear on the valves. And that was the initial operation, was a valve replacement, I think. So who knows?
The valves. I remember there was a doctor years ago by the name of Dr. Diamond. Great name, by the way.
Yeah, he sounds legit.
But he basically spoke to me. It was actually kind of discouraging to hear, because he said, listen, when you go out and you cross a specific barrier with your training, your heart's like a car engine. It's like there's a certain amount of miles that the car is going to get. And then if you don't take care of it, you're obviously going to lose it a lot sooner. But he referred to it very similarly to a car engine. And he says at some point, it's not going to work anymore.
It's like a fuel pump.
Right. And if you sit there and you just beat the crap out of yourself day in and day out, day in and day out, that'll actually work against you, and you're actually speeding up your clock. So, and it was, it sucked to hear, because now I'm like, all right, well, I'm screwed because every day for the last, I've been an athlete since I'm 3 years old. And I remember one thing, because of my hearing problem at a young age, was that when it was time to run, I ran really hard. It's probably why I was a little bit of a middle distance runner than even sprinter, because I could outgut specific people on mile times and stuff. But I just was always about hard work for me. So I remember saying to myself, oh shit, I'm in trouble. But then I also weighed in, well, listen, there's a lot of things that I'm doing that people aren't doing. I'm not drinking as much, or once in a while it's a cocktail. I'm getting sleep. Even this morning, we happened to be up at 4 a.m. I was passed out by 8:45. And there's certain things that I'm doing that a lot of people aren't doing. And it's like, I got to enjoy life. I got to live life. Like I love training. I love the feeling that training gives me. I can't turn around and say, well, I'm going to stop doing one of the things I'm most passionate about, because, Arnold had a heart attack, and some doctors saying that it was probably because he did too much volume. Like, I think I'm training pretty smart right now, and I'm trying to consult with really good people about what the body should be doing and not be doing, and trying to listen to the body. But, I'm not going to not do the things in life because, I want to live to 90 because I want to live to 99 instead of 94. Obviously, I want to be on this earth as much as possible, but I also want to live every day to the fullest, and I want to enjoy every day to the fullest. And for me, part of it's training. It really is. It's that one constant that I have in my life, that I can go break a sweat at any time in the day, and I know how I'm going to feel right after. I never feel bad after a workout. I always feel great.
How about the eating piece? And like, I always go back to the fruit fly experiments, where the fruit flies that didn't eat much lived a lot longer. Like, do you think even if you eat clean and you're eating a lot, do you think there's this wear and tear thing that's happening?
I've spoken to doctors about it. Some say yes, some say no. Yeah, there could be. There very well could be. But again, I'm eating the way I eat for the goals that I have, in my life now. And I also like to think that because I'm eating organic and I'm eating the healthy meals, and the amount of vegetables that I'm eating, that this will help me from a longevity standpoint. Do I eat a lot of food? Sure. I mean, is it normal for the human body to consume 4,000 to 5,000 calories a day? Probably not. I mean, but on the other hand, am I digesting, am I ripping food a lot faster than a normal human being? Yes, I am. So, if we start worrying about every little thing in life, we're all going to be screwed. I mean, think about it. It's even like, Derek, running's bad for you. Running's bad for you. You're like, well, I love to run, and my body feels fine when I'm running, and I'm going to keep running. It's like running. Like, I'll say, how's your body feel when you run? Awful. Like, when I run, I can't move the next few days. And I'm like, all right, well, then we got to look at one, how you're running, but two, whether, we should be continuing to do that. So.
Yeah, there's never any absolutes, because I know there's been studies that say that, the runners who they looked at their joint surfaces, were better than people who didn't run or who were sedentary, right? So, but obviously if you do too much of it, you're going to wear away the articular cartilage and all that. So
What do you think's too much anyway? I mean, does it really depend on your intensity, or do you feel like there is a certain amount of miles that a human being shouldn't be exceeding? Now, I hear about guys like Dean Carnazzi or whoever the hell these runners are who run like 50 marathons in 50 days, and they wake up the next day and they feel fine. And I'm like, all right, this guy's a freak. I'm not going to try and do that. But what's your opinion on it?
I mean, there's a lot of variables. If you're 250 pounds, you're not going to be doing that because obviously the stress is going to be magnified. But, I think of the oxidative stress impacts of going out and running. And again, you're consuming more oxygen and there's a wear and tear.
Can you explain that? Can you explain that to some of our listeners? Because I think they're going to want to hear about that, about oxidative stress, because it is a fancy word, but.
Yeah, I mean, it just has, just having to process that at a cellular level. They're finding, they talk about antioxidants, right? And you don't want degradation of your cells because there's too much oxidation happening. So I think if you're out there and you're doing, aerobic stuff is good, as we know, but if you do too much of it, again, there's a downside to, what the impact would be on your body to just be forcing so much air through your system that you have to process it. And I think same with the food, same with anything. Like if I drink too much water, that's bad too. Like people can drown from drinking too much water. So I just think, going back to last episode and which I call the eating disorder episode, but this whole idea that I think a lot of this stuff is driven by people's mental state, right? Like, this guy likes to do ultra marathons. You're like, well, why do you like to do ultra marathons? And I don't know. Maybe there's a mental thing behind like having to go out for a 20-mile run every day. Cause I can't do it. That would drive me nuts. Right. But I don't know. I always think there's some mental motivation behind a lot of these obsessive compulsive exercise scenarios. I don't know.
I agree. No, I totally agree. I mean, working out becomes, you hear from a lot of runners talking about how it becomes their escape. And I know the one thing I love about running sometimes is that it just becomes mindless. You throw your headphones on and it's just you in the beautiful weather and you can just kind of get lost and break a sweat. And there's just not a lot of thought in there. So to be able to go do that, I think is great. It's just such a mindless activity. I think we're all built differently. I remember when I was younger, I would go run 5-6 miles every day, squat 400 plus pounds, felt great. Turn around specific days, run 13 miles, 14 miles, no problem, fast. And I was 215 pounds. And my body can handle it. Mentally, I just went out. I wanted to put, now it's like, I feel like my work ethic has gotten so much even better and I became so much smarter, but I also understand that might not be the best for my body. And because of that, I've almost lost the will to be able to go do that. Do I think I'm in better shape? Yes, I feel like I'm in better shape now when I was in college, but I'm not going to go run a 452 mile anymore. Like I did was my fastest in college because I just don't have that need, or there's nothing that would really drive me right now to want to do that. I'm almost kind of like, well, it's boring. I've done that and I've got other focuses and, unless, I don't know, maybe that'll change one day. But I almost feel like as you get smarter, you also start staying away from these crazy runs or crazy activities or whatever, because you're saying to yourself, well, wait a second, I'm in here for a result and I want to get better and I want to improve. And more doesn't always mean I'm going to improve.
Yeah, I think we all go through those phases. Like I went through the whole Olympic weightlifting phase where I had to power clean and snatch and front squat this and press, push press and jerk press. And after a while, you're like, I don't need to do that anymore. I mean, I did it. It was interesting. But as far as my health goes, I certainly don't need to do that anymore.
And it's also, it loses its luster a little bit too, right? I mean, like you said, at that time, you were probably so motivated to do it and you were excited to do it. And then things just start changing a little bit. It's not, are we getting older? Yes, we're getting older. But like I said, I don't think, because I'm the age I am, or you're the age you are, it means that we can't continue to improve in specific capacities or aspects of our life, even with our fitness. Like I know guys right now who are in their 50s that are PRing, that are power lifters. I know there's specific things now that I can do that I couldn't do when I was 21, 22. And I was
But
really into it then.
I have a question. Those guys that are PRing in their 50s, were they really active when they were they doing that when they were younger? Because that's the thing, like masters track athletes are usually people who never did track when they were younger, right?
It's a good point. It's a good point. Yeah, I got a client, Joe Horowitz, who really started training pretty seriously with me when he was 55, and now he's 67. And the guy couldn't do a pull-up when he was 55. He's 67 now. He's hitting probably get it anywhere between 7 and 10 pull-ups, like strict pull-ups, which is impressive. Or he'll go, he's dumbbell pressing 75, 80 pounds. And we got on such a funny conversation. It's so ironic that we're talking about this. But last week, he's got a trainer down in Miami. His name's Matt. Really great guy. Smart trainer, but very much more bodybuilding focused. And there's certain days he goes in and Joel's got to look at Matt and say, Matt, like I'm 67 years old. Like this is getting a little nuts. But I keep seeing Joel, like his aches are starting to go away a lot more now, and his body's feeling great, and he's doing lifts that he never did. And I'm like, well, wait a second. Like, is he developing this foundation now? Is he because he's not backing off and he's challenging it? Is that actually a good thing? Is it actually in the other direction of what we're being told in the past of like, all right, you're getting older, let's back off. And it's like the hamstring. Like when you get hurt, you back off, you get afraid to do it again. And then what happens? You develop weakness in that posterior chain. And then what happens? You go out and you go to sprint with your kid and then you pull your hamstring again. And then out of nowhere, you get this negative effect in your head of like, well, I'm just getting older. I don't recover the way that I recover anymore. I'm not convinced. I believe that, yeah, we don't recover. You find we recover differently now at 40 than I am at 20. I will completely understand that. But we also got to get a little smarter on how we approach things. And I also do know that if Joel started backing off on the workouts right now, he might get hurt. He might get hurt. I don't know what's going to happen. I mean, the guy's 67 years old and he's doing pull-ups and he's dumbbell pressing, and he's trap bar pulling 300 something pounds off the floor for reps. And he's doing all these things that, 12, 13 years ago, I mean, if you told him then he was going to do this that year, he would have been thrilled. He's doing it 12, 13 years later. Does that make sense what I'm saying right now?
No,
I'm not saying that we can't be conscious of the fact that we're getting older, but I also mean like we still have to set goals. We still should be aggressive to a standpoint. We should try and get, something out of that car engine. We should be trying to achieve more, not where it's like, oh, I'm just going through I feel like if we just go through the motions, then in time, everything's going to go to shit.
Yeah, no, I think there is some kind of systemic human performance atrophy. So if you reduce your activity level, you're probably going to get worse, health-wise in many ways. So I think like you probably agree, like most back pain is due to inactivity. It's not due to structural defects or, wear and tear. It's as you get older, you just find yourself doing less and you're like, things hurt. Like even when I went on vacation, I didn't do as much. I was probably sitting more, and then things started to hurt. Right.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, we don't get, listen, I think the advantages of being a child is you don't really get that as a child. You never hear my 9-year-old son after watching 3 hours of a movie get up and be like, oh, my back. Like he just jumps up. But what's also ironic about it is that it's 9:00 the other night and we're like walking through a store. It was like late at night. We were out of our comfort zone. We were doing something we normally wouldn't be doing. My son's like jumping off walls and like running around. I just stopped and I looked at him because I'm watching him move laterally and he's like falling to the ground and jumping up on the shelves. He was just having fun. He was just being cool, having a good time. But I'm like, could you imagine if adults were moving like that in the store? Could you imagine if we had that much energy? I used to hear my grandparents saying, to be young again. Like if I had that much energy. But at the end of the day, that's what ends up happening. We start losing energy. We start getting tired because we're not taking care of ourselves. And then you're like, screw it. I don't want to jump off that curb, or I don't want to skip up onto that curb like we used to. But when you see what my son doing all day long, he's doing plyometrics.
Yeah.
All day long, he's doing plyos. He doesn't even know it. He's sitting in front of the TV, he drops into a deep squat with the remote. He sits in a perfect squat that you could not put me into if you broke every bone in my body and tried to glue it back together. I couldn't fit into it. Perfect squat, remote control, and he starts eating cereal off the table in a squat position. And you're just like, well, yeah, of course. Like, I look at my son, I tell him all the time, I said, don't ever stop doing that. And he's like, what do you mean? I'm like, don't ever stop doing that. How you're sitting right now, how you're squatting, don't stop doing that. And he's like, I say it to him so much that he gets it now and he just keeps doing it.
Yeah.
But we all stop doing it.
Do you have any older clients who just exhibit those qualities and they are fit and like they're bouncing off the walls and they're not taking Adderall? They're just naturally energetic? And
No, no, I don't. I mean, it's funny. I mean, probably the most energetic person that I know is me. I'm always wired up, but listen, I still see, like, I've been coming home from work at night. I'm beat, man. I'm going to bed by 8:30, 9 o'clock because I got to be up so early. And like, I run so hard during the day. I think I get home, my body just goes like this, but I'm not fighting it. I don't fight it. I think, what night was it last week? I went to bed. I got home at 6 from work and I was asleep by 7:45 for a 4 a.m. wake up.
Yeah.
And you know what? I kind of wanted to stay up and watch some TV and talk with my wife and play with my kids. And I was like, screw it. I can't do it, man. Like, if I want to do what I'm doing now, if I got to burn it this hard in business and in work and with my workouts, then I got to respect it. I gotta listen to myself, man. And I gotta do what I got to do to be healthy. Because if I go down and my health goes south and my workouts go south and my mood goes south, then the lives of my family, my clients, my employees, they're all suffering. And it's a selfish way to think. You're like, wow, how can you say that everyone's so dependent on you? Well, I support my family. Well, my clients are relying upon me to get them ready for specific roles. Can I be replaced? Of course I can. But I'm here because I'm a motivator. I'm motivating them. My employees, if I stop coming to work and business went downhill, then my employees are going to lose their jobs and the club's going to close down. I can't burn it at both ends. Mm-hmm. It's beautiful out. Would I like to go out to the corner bar and order a tequila right now and sit down with Tiago or you and start having a couple of drinks? Sure. And do I do that once in a blue moon? Okay. But I got to pick my battles. I think in society, everyone wants their cake and eat it too. They just want it all. You can't have it. And we have to put some time in. We got to follow our hamstring protocols that Derek has made for us. We have to do specific things with our meal prep that I'm recommending you to do. And we got to pay respect to the human body. And we can't think as an athlete, we could just jump back into things because we took 3-4 months off. It doesn't work that way.
Okay. Well, I want to throw some current event type things at you, like that relate to health and fitness. And I want to get your opinion on it. Some of it's controversial and you have no previous knowledge of what I'm going to throw at you. So I just want you to react and be controversial.
I'm nervous.
Okay, the first one is going to be an easy one for you here. I'm just going to serve it up to you, and I just want you to give me your opinion. There's a lot of articles right now about Meghan Markle getting ready for her big wedding to Prince. What's his name?
Not Harry.
Prince Harry. Yeah. So
how did you not know that?
I don't know. I'm in the Commonwealth.
Where are you from? Vancouver?
Yeah,
Jesus.
Canada. We should. He's not high enough in that hierarchy,
oh,
right?
Man.
So anyways, they're talking about Meghan Markle's fitness routine for her wedding. And in that case, have you had those types of pressures where you've had to work with this woman who's like having this role of her life or getting married? And what do you do with those types of situations if you had to work with her?
Probably everything that I do now. I think it's really simple. I think I would just look at what they're doing on a day-to-day. I would get a really clear understanding of what the end goal is for them. Sometimes the end goal isn't that far off. They can say, you know what, I want to lose 10 pounds. I'm like, really? Do you really need to lose 10 pounds? Like, what do you really want to do? Well, I want to see my top abs and I want to look better in this dress. And I'm like, stop relaying a number to that because you don't know if 10 pounds is going to equate to that. It could be 4 pounds. It could be us just not drinking for the next 2 weeks and continuing to exercise the way that you've been exercising. So, people come in all the time, but I think it's being really distinct with that goal and them understanding what it is and trying not to have it be a number on the scale. Because as you know, and I know you agree with it, it's such a bullshit way to quantify success. I'm like, are you concerned with losing 10 pounds? Are you concerned with looking better naked? I mean, it's a reality of it because it's a woman getting ready for her wedding. Very rarely do you hear a woman say, "Oh my God, I just want to move better in my dress." It's like, well, what's your wedding goal? Oh, I want to be able to score a 19 on the FMS. for my wedding. It's like, no, I'm wearing like a strapless dress, or my arm's going to be shown because it's a June wedding, or I want to go in there just feeling confident and great. And it's when you hear things like that, I think it's very easy. It's just getting them in the right mindset of like, all right, we're going to follow this plan, training, nutrition. This is the time frame that we have. Understanding what I'm working with. If it's someone who's been really drinking every night, to cut them back cold turkey, a lot of times is difficult. If we can get them to do that, fine. But if we can even cut the volume in half and get the eating really good, we're going to see progress. That makes sense? So it's just,
Now, can I ask you a question here?
Ask me as much as you want, Derek. That's what we're doing here.
Do you have any hard and fast guidelines for this in terms of somebody comes to you and says, I got 4 weeks. Do
Yes.
you go, no, there's no way I can do this. I don't want to be associated with this project. Does it have to be a certain amount of time to prep somebody for something like this, a body composition type project? Are you very careful about assignments you take on?
Yeah, I don't want to give any false, I don't want to give any false hope. I had a publication recently come out to me and they're like, we want to do a 2-week program. And
2 week?
2 week.
Oh,
2
wow.
week so, and I said yes to it because it was how they were wording it. I'm not telling someone they're going to put muscle on in 2 weeks. We're saying that how to optimize your 2 weeks.
Okay.
How to turn around. You have a 2-week plan. How are we going to optimize that and go into whatever we have in 2 weeks feeling great? Because if someone turns around and they find out that they're going on a trip, or they got to be in a bikini, or they met a guy, or a guy met a girl and they're doing a trip together, or whatever it pops up, and they want to look good with their shirt off or naked or whatever it is, it's still my job. I'm not giving false hope by saying that we can improve that in 2 weeks. I can right now improve my body in 2 weeks. It's very easy. With the level that I feel I'm at right now, I can turn around and I can eliminate any cheat meal for the next 2 weeks. I can completely dial in my macros for the next 2 weeks. And I could do everything I need to do from a fitness standpoint, which I always do anyway. But just by eliminating maybe the one cocktail I'm going to have Friday night, maybe the bad meal that I'm going to have Sunday night, that stuff adds up. That's water retention. That's enabling me to hold a little water. I might be a little heavier on the amount of that I weigh, but it does show up on me because when you're lean, I think the least bit shows. Like I keep talking about 1,000 times when I prepped for that shoot that I was in, the Muscle and Fitness cover, just by eliminating my cheat meals, I think I lost 10 pounds in 4 or 5 weeks. And you say, well, wait a second, you only cheat once or twice a week or meals, not even big. I'm like, yeah, it adds up. Like you could still get away with that stuff, but when you're at a specific level and you're used to seeing someone who's lean, it will show up. So when someone has that amount of time, I just say, listen, if we have 2 weeks, you're not drinking, you're not eating any white flour, you're not eating any dairy. We're getting, an ample amount of vegetables, organic proteins, this and that. And if they're like, well, I can't do that in 2 weeks, I'm like, listen, then expect that whatever you can't do, it's going to take you a little bit longer to do, and just understand it. And don't point the finger at me. But I've seen people in 2 weeks, like I've done 2 week before and afters, and you'd be like, shit, seriously? I'm like, yeah, dead serious. It's just water weight. Like if we start getting that layer of skin thinner and thinner and thinner, we're going to see, if you hold a lot of muscle, that muscle is going to get a little more visual. Suddenly you go get a spray tan now, or you go stand in the sun for a couple hours, you get a little haircut, you clean everything up. Everything appears a little bit differently. You see these before afters. In 30 days, this person improved this. Yeah. You also notice that they're really tan, and that they really grinded for the last few weeks, and they didn't take any cheat meals and no alcohol. When you start eliminating that stuff, you have that short period of time to prep, you can do more with the body than you think. I'm not saying that you're putting muscle on, but appearance-wise, you can definitely see a difference.
I would like to see you do a 2 week with a time lapse and like every day, and just show us like, okay, what can you do? That'd be awesome if you could do that on Instagram or something like that. That'd be
fun. Yeah. You know what? I could do it after, I would even do it after a bad night of eating to show water retention, and wake up and do the before. And then,
that's a good point. You could do the fat guy gets toned, or you could do the toned guy lets himself go, and how bad it can be in 2 weeks, right?
I think that's a cool thing to show also. I think it's a cool thing to show, and I've never seen anyone do this, but take a guy who's cover ready, or who just shot the cover of Men's Fitness, and turn around and have him go through an epic cheat day where he's just consuming a whole bunch of crap for a day or two. And you'll see the guy I saw my buddy Patrick, was a bodybuilder, not dropping his last name, but about 15 years ago, he competed in a bodybuilding show. And I saw the guy gain over 30 pounds in 2 days.
Wow.
Because he was so carb depleted. He was so dehydrated that when he started, he went from no carbs. Then when he started pulling carbs back into his body, he started bringing all this water back into his body. And the simple fact that it wasn't that healthy of carbs, now you got sodium mixed in there, and then you just blow up like a blowfish. It's so unhealthy. But when people go away and they have a bad weekend, they're like, oh, I went out drinking and I ate everything and I gained 8 pounds. I'm like, you didn't gain 8 pounds. You gained 8 pounds, but you didn't really gain 8 pounds. You want the 8 pounds off? They're like, yeah. I'm like, get back on your diet.
Yeah.
Sweat, be patient, take a couple of saunas, and tell me how you feel by Thursday. It's Monday morning. And 9 out of 10 times they're back to where they need to be.
Okay, so let's get off the royal wedding bandwagon here. There's a muscle and fitness cover here. Guy is a vegan bodybuilder.
Cool.
Delgado. I don't know if you can see that, but I don't know. He looks okay.
Yeah, he looks good. Looks better than me.
Hits
better than I could do.
Hit the newsstands. So what's your approach with like it? He was interviewed by Plant-Based News. Awesome. What's your take on the whole plant-based diet and how you would work that?
It's funny now because over the last several decades, there's always been this comparison that whey or animal protein has such a higher amino acid profile than plant. And I think that, the reason why, animal protein is far superior is that your aminos, you just have more of a complete amino acid. When you're consuming a plant-based diet, they're starting to find out now that pea protein, which always tasted a little funny, and there's a reason why they didn't use a lot of pea protein in supplements is because of the taste, but they're able to get a much creamier texture out of it now. I know Garden of Life is using pea protein in their sport line, and the amino acid profile is much more similar to, say, whey now. So do I believe someone can pack good muscle on using plants? The answer is absolutely. The problem that we get in is the amount of plants or beans or grains, quinoa, specific grains that are very high in carbohydrates might be considered to have a decent amount of protein. You got to consume so much of that to get the amount of protein that your body needs to be able to pack muscle on. So, think about the amount of quinoa you'd have to combine with beans to get 1 gram of protein per pound, if that's your rough range that you're trying to consume. So I think what's tough for a lot of the vegans is that when they are consuming that plant or grains or whatever it is for their protein source, there could be sauces mixed in it. There could be other things, condiments that are actually causing you to retain a lot of water. So not only are you getting a lot of carbohydrates, but you're not getting, you're also getting specific sauces and stuff that are going to cause you to retain water. So it makes it difficult for, vegans to pack on that muscle. Is it doable? I mean, look at the guy on that cover. I mean, it looks unbelievable. I mean, the guy did it, and you can do it. Would I know how to do it? Yes. I'd kind of be more curious to see how I would do on it. I don't know if I have an urge to do it. I don't know if it's something I would have to be like a bet, or if it would have to be it'd have to be like a contest, or, better yet, some type of charity. Like if it was for a charity or something, I would definitely do it. But, it's hard enough for me to turn around and get the amount of calories I need to get in. If I have to just do it through plants and fruits and grains, I'm going to lose a ton of weight. I think I might feel great the first month. I don't know how I'm going to feel in 6 months, but who knows? I did it for a short period of time. I just didn't like it at the time that I did it.
Mm-hmm.
But, I don't know if that answers your question. But
yeah, I just hope you don't have a P tape.
Oh, go ahead.
Okay, the next one is controversial. LA Fitness takes action over harassment of 2 black men in wake of the Starbucks debacle, right? And I know we talk a lot about, and they're going back, and I guess they fired the guys who did this, right? Who worked for
you have to explain to me. I don't even know what happened. So I
think what happened is there's two fellows went in, happened to be African-American. One was an existing member. One was buddy who had a pass, like a 4-day pass. and then they got grilled by the employees, like, oh, we need to see better identification. We need to and they were just essentially harassing them and essentially kicked them out. And I guess the LA Fitness is now taking action with those employees.
LA Fitness C Caucus. Been having multiple problems with this club. Got my membership right here. I scanned in. I was asked to scan in again for no reason. I'm the only person in the gym they asked to scan again. And I have my membership. I've been a member here for at least 8 years. They got the cops here. You got the police here. Go ahead, scan it. I told you I'll scan it with your manager, right? Go ahead, scan that. And they call the police for this. Police right here. What that say on screen? Have a nice day.
Can we go work out now?
Have a very nice day. And we're the only 2 black people in the gym. Let's make this a black thing. We're only 2 black people in the gym. Only 2 black people in the gym. Been having problems with this staff for months over nothing. Every time something new.
And so I just, I know we had talked a lot about how you select the quality of your employees and making sure they're good people. And this is a perfect example,
I mean, listen, we've done, and Drive well, and the people that we have under this roof, and I'm very proud of them. But every once in a while, you have a bad egg that comes in. You've got someone that, gets either really emotional, or they struggle with health problems, or something happens that really throws their mood off, and they act very out of character. I think that's terrible what happened to those guys. I mean, this is, you're letting them into a gym. It's not, Fort Knox. It's not the White House. Like, relax. Like, I just went to the White House with my family a few weeks ago, and, we had to show several forms of identification. We had to be we had to go through. That's the White House. I get it. Okay. Like, this is, what'd you say it was? Planet Fitness or LA Fitness?
LA. It was in, where was it? It was LA Fitness. What city was it? It was in Secaucus, New Jersey.
Right. Well, I wasn't there for the event, so obviously I can't say.
Yeah.
It's like that's where it gets difficult. I mean, I hope LA Fitness does something nice for those guys, because that's a terrible thing to have to go through. But I don't know how malicious it was. I don't know if they were just kind of giving them a hard time, or if they were literally harassing them. And regardless, LA Fitness should do something to I think make right of the situation.
Yeah. And I think Starbucks is going through the same thing. So, like the sensitivity training for all the staff.
It's tough. I mean, you start getting people who are, you see it with employees, and I'm not giving them the benefit of the doubt here, but it's tough. I mean, you're hiring an employee. I mean, they're human beings. They could be having a bad day. They could be hungover. They might just not want to be at work. And, one little thing could set them off. And it's terrible to think that a business, that a company, an individual built up, can really be screwed by one employee. But that's the reality of it. It sucks, but like I said, I hope those companies do right by the people.
Okay, let's change lanes here. I used a fitness tracker to track my activity level during sex.
Did you? Let me ask you.
Have I done it?
No. I was asking you if, I mean, what is it with you? Did they ask you if you went more than 30 seconds, or were you actually?
I have no idea what they're doing. Somebody was wearing a ring that goes on your finger.
Oh, okay. I was going to say another ring there. Okay.
And they tracked their heart rate and all these sorts of things. And I think it was pretty intuitive. Like, when they got close to the point, their heart rate went up, and then but you've never tracked any vitals during your personal activity.
Not during sex. I mean, I'm not saying that I never turned into Pat Bateman in American Psycho, looking at the mirror and flexing his muscles. But what do you expect that out of me anyway? It's all good. But no, I mean, in all seriousness, and no, I do not have a mirror in my bedroom facing my bed, everyone.
Or on the ceiling. Yeah.
The ceiling we will keep going quiet. The ceiling's okay. It's the side of the bed. I don't relax, man. You're having sex. Come on, man. Like, you start putting a wearable on to track yourself during sex. Either do it because you guys are just curious, but if you're seriously in there, like,
you got a problem.
I think you got a huge issue, and I think you should seek some help.
Okay, I know you're dealing with this a lot. there's tips to squeeze some fitness into your next business trip. You got clients who are big business guys. What kind of things do you advise? They said things like, pack certain types of equipment to work out in. If you're a runner, go for a run. Bring some small training gear for an in-room workout. Keep moving. Use whatever you can use in the hotel room. And I'm sure you could go out and do dips on a parking meter or something.
Yeah, I mean, all the above. I mean, maybe you can try one of those fitness trackers when you're having sex. No, I mean, there's all that stuff with your bands. I mean, I know even with my app, I try and I create a lot of times a hotel room workout. And I think sometimes when people travel to hotels and they don't have a gym, they just kind of give up. But I think there's so many things we can do out there that are productive, and just even getting into your hotel room for 10, 15 minutes and breaking a sweat and moving, and some body weight squats and some up dog, down dogs, and some push-ups, and doing specific things that could really open the body up and get your energy level up. To me, I think that stuff's magic. So I think it's just getting educated and getting some sources on where to go to. If you do want to, go break a sweat when you're at a hotel without a gym, which is incredibly common.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, we've talked a lot about, even personally, about group fitness and this community. Like, I think that's a big thing right now, right? Like, oh, you got to be part of this community. It's not just about the type of exercise. And there was a couple articles here, and I think they talked to the CEO from Barry's boot camp. But what's your take on this community and creating community? I mean, you guys have a community to
we definitely have a community here. I think it's really important. I think anytime you could take something like fitness, which I know scares a lot of people, and you can make it feel very family oriented, and it feels like home, and it feels like a place you can go to and just get really comfortable. I'm all for it. I think that's fantastic, especially considering the gym and fitness and nutrition intimidates so many people. But I think it comes in so many different forms, and I think to each his own. I think it's one of those things where, you're going to like what you like, and you're going to be motivated by going to a gym with beautiful people around, or you might be becoming motivated by going to a gym where they just make you feel really comfortable and it's really private. And I think it's to each his own. And I think that's why you see so many people are attracted to different concepts: Barry's, CrossFit, SoulCycle, Rumble, all these different concepts. A lot of them I think are, absolutely flat out offensive. And I could sit there and I can argue, I could sit there with the owner of these, and their argument would be like, but you know what, we're getting people moving, and we're getting, and fine. Like, are they better off going in and doing something bad or sitting on the couch? Not if doing something bad is going to put you in the hospital. And unfortunately, that's happening a lot. We're seeing that happen a lot. I just think there's got to be a better level of accountability. Like, I've got no problem with group fitness. I'm into it. I know some incredible group fitness instructors who go in there and they call audibles in a class of 30 people. Like Nadia Zaki, one of my really good friends, she hosts an inner warrior class, and she goes in and she coaches 30 people. I will see her go around calling audibles with 30 different clients, and they're all become regulars at one point because they know how in tune she is with everyone. And she's literally progressing or regressing 30 people. It's unbelievable. It takes a special coach to be able to do that. But I think there's got to be a higher level of accountability. I think that now people are going out and they're getting weekend certifications or becoming Pilates instructors, and to just fill time. And for me, it's like almost no different than a doctor. You're holding someone's health and wellness in your hands. I don't think we should have to go to medical school, but I think we need to have an understanding that when someone comes in and they're not able to move a certain way, that you should at least have the intuition to be able to call an audible and not have them do that specific movement, because you can really screw someone up for life.
Yeah, no, I think that's definitely the pitfall. I think people can be allured by the community / cult mentality, but they kind of overlook what's actually happening in the class, right?
Do they have a lot of group IU? I mean, is that something that they're doing a lot in Vancouver, or not really?
I mean, everything comes out of New York, right? So I'm planning my own drive gym here. No, I think they're just offshoots, right? They have, what's that one called? Agent Orange or Orange Fit?
Orange Theory.
Orange Theory, yeah.
Agent Orange. I think one of the best group classes I've ever seen ran was your sprinting class that you hosted at Drive.
Yeah.
To me, I think that was probably that. I just said Nadia, but I think is like a curated we had 12 treadmills and we had all these people, whatever it was, 24 people on the mat, on the turf, and you had them doing their warm-ups. And as they were working out, you were kind of educating them and teaching them how to get their body to move. And then like you turn around, you look at them on the treadmills and they're doing, intervals with their partner and they're, sprinting for 20 to 30 minutes and they're dripping sweat and they're getting a great workout. To me, that's incredible because I can't tell you one person, and we ran 3 or 4 classes in a row. There wasn't one person who woke up the next day who said that they felt worse than they did, who felt worse after they left. Everyone left. Everyone that I talked to was like, I feel unbelievable. And that's what it's about.
Well, and the difference was we had 5 or 6 experienced coaches helping too, right? So, that makes a huge difference. And I think that's what's missing here. You have, like you said, you have one person who's reading a script, supervising 30 people. That's tough. I mean,
it is. I've seen it done, but it is very difficult.
Yeah. So, well, I'll be interested to see how it evolves, and maybe somebody does kind of rise out of the crowd and goes like, hey, yeah, maybe you call it audible fitness. I don't know, audible group fitness. And you have, I think it'd be great if you had somebody combine the comedy club with the fitness and you have somebody telling jokes up there. That'd be awesome.
How would you be able to focus? I just heard what did I just hear about? I heard that there's a facility opening up in New York City where they're going to be running it at instead of it being hot, they're going to run it cold.
What?
Yeah, I'm like, you got to be kidding me. I don't. Maybe I'm an idiot. Maybe there's something I don't know. I'm trying to think. After 20 years, is there something someone didn't tell me? Why? I think the room's 40 or 45 degrees. They're gonna be pumping cold air into it, and you have to train in the cold. So I don't. But I'm asking you, is there something before I start bashing this? Is there something I don't know about? Because I know when something like that pops up, and I just can't figure out why. And then I start second guessing my intellect and whether I'm competent or not. I'm like, wait a second, is there any, the last I checked, people take time to warm up, and if they can pull muscles and they can get hurt.
I don't know. Maybe they're just going off the whole Wim Hof, cryo chamber and taking it. Hey, well, maybe
that's all I was able to kind of think of. Yeah. That was my only solution was all right, because it's cold, your body your body temperature has to rise.
Yeah.
Because it's rising, you're going to burn more fat. So that was my whole thought process. But if that's the only thought, but
I think it has to be really cold though, right? You can't just be 45 degrees. It has to be super cold for your body to compensate, right? So I don't know how this is almost going halfway and it's not good enough. So
look at my face right now. Do I look, I'm kind of, I don't know about it, man. I don't know.
Do some running high knees in the cryo chamber tomorrow. Let me know how it goes.
I'm okay.
But last thing, 4 skills you need to become a personal trainer. If you know somebody who wants to become a personal trainer, what do you usually tell them? What
the 4 skills?
Yeah. Or what are any skills?
Be a good person. Be a good person. Be a good person. Be a good person. I mean, literally, no. It's. I think it's simple. You have to. I don't know if this is going to be for us. You have to be a great person. You got to be a person that someone wants to go out and have a beer with and just be able to have a conversation. That's one. 2, I think you got to have a love and a passion for wanting to help people. Okay, and wanting to see them improve. 3 would be wanting to learn about fitness in general and just having the knowledge and the know about to want to improve in that capacity. If you don't have a love for fitness, if you don't really truly like it yourself, I don't understand how you can turn around and help someone improve. Was that 3 or 4? That was 3.
Yeah.
That was 3.
I wasn't counting.
And the 4th one would be, and I have it on the tip of my tongue. The 4th one would be, you have to understand as a coach. This is actually a really good lesson as a coach. As good of a friend as you become with your client, as close as you think you're getting to them, you can't ever forget that they're paying you for a service. And that I see a lot of coaches overstep that boundary because they're so excited to be working with that person, or they're successful or an actor, whatever it is. don't ever forget that they're coming to you for a service and that you're replaceable. And if you have those 4 qualities, I think you can be a really good coach.
That's great. That's a really good point, actually. Even in my own personal experience, knowing that boundary is critical. So,
but you're very good at it, because I know, not to drop names, I know there's certain people that you brought into my club that are really, really high profile people, and they love you, and I could tell that they love you, and they almost don't want to see anyone else. But when it stops becoming about them and it starts becoming about you, it's not that it's about them. They're paying you for a service. You're here to deliver a service and give them a result. Don't ever forget that it's about them. And it's cute. I'll go out to dinner with my clients and this and that. The next day is like, thank you so much for dinner. By the way, this thing came in, or by the way, are you all right? What do you need? What can I do for you? It's so much beyond the training.
Yeah. And I think all those points you brought up are good for people who are looking for a personal trainer to recognize that that's what they should be looking for in the person they choose. Right. So
totally agree. And last thing, I had a woman reach out to me the other day, and she was saying, I really respect how you, with your coaching, and you're not always shoving down people's throats that they got to push harder, push harder, push harder. I'm working with a coach right now, and I feel like anytime I can't push hard, they get upset with me. And that's got to be a topic that you and I can cover one time, because, I disagree with that. I said it a million times, that if your coach, whether they know a lot more about fitness than you do, still needs to be sensitive to your needs. Okay. And even if you're coming in one day and you're blasted and you're exhausted and you didn't sleep, and you have a coach pushing you, and you think that that's the best, and they think that's the best thing to do, you need to find another coach. Because a smart coach is someone who's going to adapt to the person walking through that door. Because the person walking through today might be a totally different person walking through the door tomorrow. Mm-hmm. And thinking that a one approach fits all is irresponsible. That's a lot of times what I dislike about the group classes, is that you go in there and it's just like a here in your face. It's not even that affordable anymore too. They're getting really expensive now with a lot of this group.
Yeah.
It's getting crazy.
Yeah. Well, the title will be "Don't Be a Personal Training Bully."
Yeah. You're a personal training bully. That's actually a good name. So we can run, you and I should coin that.
Hashtag personal training bully. Yeah.
Maybe that's the title of our podcast. Are you working with a personal training bully? Is your personal trainer the right trainer for you? Think about it.
What we'll do is every once in a while, we're going to do this. We're going to do the rapid fire current event topics in fitness, and we'll just fire them at you and you just go off on it. Okay.
Sounds good.
Okay. Thank you for that. And we'll probably have another guest next week. So
probably, if they're lucky. Look.
Hey.
Derek!
Hey.
Wait, say hi. Derek will say hi to everyone. Derek, we got to say.
What's up, buddy? We love
How's it
you.
going, Gabe?
Hold on. One of your favorite guys. Hey, how are you?